Hey guys, so today's video is going to be kind of like I guess a walkthrough of what the application process is going to be like as a Canadian. So I'm going to take you through the steps through the initial application, what you're going to have to do to get the ball rolling, really. It's a pretty big decision when you decide to make this step, because once it gets approved, the countdown officially begins from when you can use your visa. Once you're approved, and you have basically a year to use your working holiday visa. After that, it expires and you can never apply for a New Zealand working holiday visa again. You have to be ready to make that first step. Whatever you have going on in your life, you're going to have to be able to walk away from that within a year. You have up to a year to do so. If you're renting an apartment, you got to find someone to either take over your apartment, or if you're leasing the apartment, someone to take over that lease. If you own your property, you might have to find someone to rent out the property while you're away. You might have to sell your property. If you can't sell your property, you might have to invest in property managers, a whole list of things. And that's really where the fun begins, which is after the application process. The very first step, before you do anything, before you consider anything, is you have to understand that you could potentially be leaving within a year. So just look at your job situation, look at your living situation, and ask yourself, can I tie everything up within a year so that I can leave? So the first thing you got to do is go to the New Zealand immigration website, which I've linked in the description below. So you're going to head over to the Work in New Zealand section of the website. And number one, right over here, it says, I'm thinking about New Zealand for work. And you see these people here picking apples. They look super happy. And so you're going to click on this link here. It says working holiday visa. And they're going to start talking about some major points about eligibility. Once you've moved past the general question of, can I leave my life wherever it is you are? In my experience, it was living in Montreal. If you can answer that question and say, yes, I can, then, this is where you would be. Depending which country you're in, you're going to select that particular country. In my case, Canada. And so there's two types of working holiday visas. The length of the stay. So you can choose either a 1-year stay, or you could go for the 23-month. The age range is between the ages of 18 and 35. This is what really got the ball rolling for me. I was 32 at the time, and I knew that I had 3 years left to be eligible for this visa. And there's not very many countries that offer a visa up till the age of 35. I think every country that has a working holiday visa cuts off at 30. If you choose a 12-month visa and you decide that you want to stay longer, you can apply later for the balance of the 23-month period. So I recommend, unless you're 100% sure, then just go for the 23-month. But if you want to test the waters a bit, apply for the 12-month visa, and just know that you can always extend your stay once you're in New Zealand. So next, we're going to check the criteria. You're going to enter in here your nationality. In this case, I'm Canadian. Applying within Canada. View. All right, so there's going to be a list of points here. This isn't the actual application process, but when you do apply, you're going to notice that a lot of the questions that you're going to have to answer on the application process is directly related to these points right here. For example, identity. Your main proof of identity is your Canadian passport. You must be in good health. They write here that you may need to have a chest x-ray and or a medical examination as proof of your good health. They didn't ask us to do this. I think they just ask you a couple questions about your health. Unless you've had any major illnesses, they won't pursue it any further. You must be of a good character. I kind of found this one funny. So when you apply online, you must answer questions about your character. Oh. Provide police certificate as a proof of good character. I don't remember what the questions were on the application. I think it was something along the lines of, were you ever convicted for a crime? If you do answer yes, then they might pursue that. Right, so citizenship. You must be a citizen of the country this visa is for. The reason why it's so easy for Canadians is because Canada is part of the Commonwealth with New Zealand. So it's just 100 times easier. The application process is quicker. You hear back from them a lot quicker. And also when you arrive in New Zealand, passing through customs is done a lot quicker. We didn't even meet with a customs agent. We just scanned our passports as if I was, going into the MTA for the, like taking the subway. All the information is there. Onward travel. You must have a ticket to leave New Zealand or enough money to buy one. Evidence can include your travel ticket, proof you have enough money to buy a ticket out of New Zealand. If you're coming to New Zealand on a 1-year working holiday visa, odds are you're not going to have your ticket out. It's going to be a one-way ticket in. So you could scratch that first bit. And honestly, when we arrived in New Zealand, we didn't actually speak to anybody that asked us questions that wanted to see our travel ticket because we didn't have one. So the second point would be prove that you have enough money to buy a ticket. So another thing that's really important is you should always print out your bank statements to show that you have enough money to buy a ticket. And that also leads into the next point, which is funds. They say that you must have enough money to live on while you're in New Zealand. So if you're making your first application, you must have at least $4,200 for your stay. Evidence can include bank statements, credit card statements, bank drafts, or traveler's checks. Print out your bank statement, and just by having that, you can prove that you have enough money to at least survive for a little bit in New Zealand. So 4,200 is what they set it at, and print out everything. Always have a paper copy. That's a rule of thumb. Don't rely on digital technology because it could fail. Did they ask us to show our bank statements when we arrived? No, they did not. They didn't ask us to show anything, actually. We printed out our medical insurance, we printed out our bank statements, we printed out our visa, and all that was required when we arrived in Wellington was a scan of our passport, and then we walked right through the turnstile, and we were in New Zealand. That was it. Is this going to be the same for you? It can vary. It really depends on the airport. In our case, it was shockingly easy to get through, and a little disturbing because I felt like we skipped a whole bunch of steps, and I was really ready to get drilled by a customs agent asking us questions, and they didn't ask us a single question. They made more of a stink about the honey that we brought in from Hawaii than our legal status in the country. It was kind of funny. But again, this ties to being Canadian. Because we had a Canadian passport, we went into a separate line and we were able to use our passports to scan in, and everything is connected to their system. So in scanning our passport, they saw our status right away and they didn't have to ask us any questions. Another reason why this whole process is so much easier and a lot simpler if you're a Canadian. So medical insurance, you must have full medical insurance for the length of your stay. So in order to prove this, you have to have a copy of your insurance certificate. This is going to be the step that you're going to do after you've applied for a working holiday visa. I'm probably going to do another video on this, just talking about different medical insurance companies that we looked at and the entire process, but I'll save that for another time. And last but not least, previous approvals. You must not have had approval for a New Zealand working holiday visa before. So this goes back to what I said earlier, that if you apply for the working holiday visa, you have to be ready to leave, because if it expires and you try to apply again, they're going to see that you've already applied for a visa and you won't get approved. All right. On to the next section, which is fees. How much is this gonna cost you? So the immigration cost is 280 New Zealand dollars. So that is the application cost. This is how much it's gonna cost to just do the application. This is not how much it's gonna cost to get approved. So it could go either way. If you don't qualify because of criminal reasons or medical reasons, you still have to pay $280 just to do the application. That is really the only gamble you take at this point, is paying that money with no guarantee that your application will get approved. And then you click apply now. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to create an account. I've already done this process, which is why I can't show you the actual screens of the application. So once you've created your account, you'll be able to go through the application process. So you've submitted your application, you've paid the fees, what's going to happen next? So Immigration New Zealand is going to review your application, and then they're going to respond with an email saying whether your application was approved or declined. For us, it took about 2 to 3 days, I think, before I got an email with the approval. Yeah, so this is the email that I received about 3 days later saying, "Dear Mark Robles, we are pleased to advise you that your application for a work visa under the Working Holiday Visa Scheme has been approved." That's it. The counter started. I had 1 year now to follow through on this plan. All of a sudden, I had to start thinking about my cats and my job and my apartment and my car, and more importantly, announcing to the world, my friends and family, what I was going to be doing. And it was a big step. This is where you really have to roll up your sleeves. Yeah, it was scary. I remember getting this email, sitting in our apartment and thinking, there's no backing out, like we have to follow through with this now. It's done. Like, we did the first step. We got approved. We can't screw around. The application part is easy. Arriving in New Zealand is easier, but the hardest process is that year or however long it'll take you to get your stuff in order for you to leave the country for 1 year. Looking back and what I've experienced, I really wish that I did this when I was still living at home, because that is the best case scenario for anyone that can do a working holiday visa, is if you live at home. If you have the money and you have the savings already to do this, you could just pack your things and go. You don't have to worry about, what about my TV? What am I going to do with my couch? What am I going to do with this? I got to sell some stuff. And then it just gets harder, obviously, if you move out of your house, because now you've got furniture, you've got clothes, you got to figure out where to store this stuff. Man, I really wish I did this when I was still living at home. But also you have to be mentally ready too. When I was living at home, I wasn't ready to leave the country. I didn't do much traveling, and I sure as hell that this was not even on my radar of things that I wanted to do in life. So you have to be mentally ready. So whatever stage you're at in life, whether it's living at home or if you've already moved out, you don't know when you're going to have the impulse to leave the country and try living abroad. Every situation is going to be different. You just have to look at it from a bigger perspective, list everything that you need to do, and just execute your plan. The application process is ridiculously easy. Being in New Zealand, I've spoken with people from the UK, from all over Europe, from the Philippines, from all over, and it's really amazing how much easier and quicker it was being a Canadian to get approved for a working holiday visa in New Zealand. So that's it. That's the video, guys. I hope this video was informative for you. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below.